The sun rose gently over Enchancia Castle, casting a soft golden glow across the royal towers. Birds chirped merrily from the balcony railings, and the sweet scent of blooming roses floated through the halls. Inside her cozy purple room, Princess Sofia stretched with a smile. Today felt special. She just didn't know why yet. Clover, her ever-cheerful rabbit companion, peeked up from his cushion. "Morning already? You humans sure wake up early for no reason," he grumbled, twitching his nose. Sofia giggled. "Good morning to you, too. Clover, I just have a feeling today is going to be wonderful. Maybe I'll finally get to spend the whole morning with Dad." Clover tilted his head. "The king? Isn't he always busy ruling and, kingage?" Sofia sighed, brushing her hair as she looked out the window toward the throne room balcony, where King Roland often stood. "He is, but he promised we'd do something together soon. Maybe today's the day." Just then, there was a knock on the door. Bailiwick entered with a polite bow. "Good morning, Princess Sofia. His Majesty asked me to let you know breakfast will be served shortly in the royal dining hall." Sofia's face lit up. "Is Dad going to be there too?" Bailiwick smiled kindly. "Indeed, Your Majesty. The king has cleared his morning schedule to dine with the family." Her heart leapt. "Really? That's perfect." Clover chuckled. "Well, look at that. The king does have time for his little princess." Minutes later, Sofia hurried down the castle's grand staircase. The marble floors gleamed beneath her steps, and sunlight poured through the stained glass windows, filling the corridor with rainbow colors. Inside the dining hall, King Roland sat at the head of the table, reading through a few papers while the royal chef set out warm pancakes, fresh berries, and golden honey. Queen Miranda and Amber chatted nearby, and James was, as usual, sneaking an extra bite before the meal started. When Sofia entered, King Roland looked up from his papers and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Princess Sofia." "Good morning, Dad." Sofia said brightly, rushing to give him a hug. He chuckled and embraced her tightly. "You seem excited today," he said. "I am. I was hoping maybe we could do something together, just us, after breakfast." King Roland leaned back, thinking, "That sounds lovely. Perhaps a ride through the royal gardens?" Sofia's eyes sparkled. "That would be perfect." Amber raised an eyebrow. "You too and your garden rides. I prefer royal tea parties." James grinned mischievously. "I prefer royal sword fights." Sofia laughed, shaking her head. "You two can have your fun. I'll take a peaceful ride with Dad." Breakfast passed with laughter and warm chatter. King Roland seemed lighter today, less focused on scrolls and royal matters, and more on his family. Sofia loved seeing him smile like that. After the meal, he stood and offered Sofia his hand. "Shall we, my dear?" Together, they walked through the castle courtyard. The horses were waiting, their manes gleaming in the morning light. As they rode through the gardens, Sofia felt the wind brush her cheeks and the sun warm her shoulders. "Dad," she said softly, "do you ever get tired of being king?" Roland smiled thoughtfully. "Sometimes it's a heavy crown to wear, Sofia. But when I see my family happy, it reminds me why I do it." She nodded, her heart full. "I think you're the best dad and king in the world." Roland chuckled warmly. "Thank you, my little princess. Though I must admit, I'm still learning how to be both at once." As they continued their ride, the castle bells rang softly in the distance, a signal that royal duties awaited once again. But for that beautiful morning, the king and his daughter forgot about duties and crowns. It was just Sofia and the Dad King, sharing laughter, sunshine, and the simple joy of being together. The next morning, Enchancia Castle was buzzing with excitement. The kitchen smelled of freshly baked pies and honey tarts, and the royal garden shimmered under the bright spring sun. Today wasn't just any day. It was the day King Roland had promised Sofia they'd spend together. Sofia stood by her bedroom window, watching the gardeners prepare a lovely spot under the big willow tree near the lake. She could already imagine it, a checkered blanket spread out, baskets full of treats, Clover nibbling on carrots, and her father beside her, laughing and telling stories of his childhood. Clover hopped up beside her, sniffing the air. I smell pie. Please tell me this picnic includes one for me." Sophia giggled. Of course it does, Clover. Dad said today's about family. No royal meetings, no councils, no interruptions. The rabbit chuckled, twitching his nose. We'll see about that. Kings are always just 5 more minutes away from being busy again. Sophia smiled softly. Not today. I can tell he really means it this time. Down in the courtyard, King Roland stood with Bailiwick and Cedric, who seemed to be in the middle of explaining something rather animatedly. And if you simply let me test a charm during your lunch, Your Majesty, we'll know for certain if the spell works. Cedric insisted, holding up his wand. Roland chuckled kindly, but shook his head. Cedric, today is a special day for my daughter. No experiments, no royal duties, just family time. Cedric frowned. But sire, tomorrow, Cedric, Roland said firmly, though with a kind smile, you have my word. As Cedric shuffled away, muttering under his breath, Sophia came running down the steps, her amulet glinting in the sunlight. Dad, the picnic spot looks perfect. Roland smiled warmly. I'm glad you think so, sweetheart. I've been looking forward to this all week. Me too, she said. I even packed my favorite sandwiches and some carrot muffins for Clover. Roland laughed. Then we're in for a royal feast indeed. Bailiwick approached, holding a neatly folded parchment. Your Majesty, forgive the intrusion, but the Royal Council has requested your signature on a treaty before noon. It's most urgent. Sophia's smile faltered a little, but Roland looked at her reassuringly. Tell the Council. The king will review it later. Today, I have an important appointment. With my daughter. Bailiwick nodded respectfully. Very good, sire. Sophia's heart swelled. Her father was really making time just for her. Together, they rode out to the garden by the lake. The willow tree's branches swayed gently, and the water sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight. It was perfect. As they unpacked the baskets, Sophia helped pour lemonade while Roland arranged the plates. Clover hopped around, finding to share snacks. So, tell me, Roland said as they sat together, how has royal prep been lately? Sophia smiled, her eyes bright. It's been amazing. We learned about royal responsibilities and teamwork. And Princess Hildegard said I've gotten better at organizing events. Oh, and... Roland chuckled as she went on, listening with genuine interest. You're growing into quite the capable princess, he said proudly. Your mother and I couldn't be more proud. Just as Sophia reached for another muffin, a royal messenger hurried into the garden, bowing deeply. Your Majesty, I'm terribly sorry, but the ambassadors from Friesenberg have arrived unexpectedly. They request an immediate audience. Sophia's heart sank. Roland's smile faded for a moment as he turned to the messenger, his mind clearly torn. I see, he said softly. Sophia tried to keep her voice steady. It's okay, Dad. I understand. You have to do your king duties. Roland looked at her. The disappointment in her eyes was gentle but unmistakable. He reached out, squeezing her hand. I promise, Sophia. I'll make it quick. Then we'll finish our picnic, just like we planned. Sophia nodded, forcing a smile. Okay. As he left with the messenger, Clover hopped closer, munching a muffin. Told you. Kings, and there are 5 more minutes. Sophia sighed, looking at the basket between them. The picnic suddenly felt a little emptier, without her father's laughter beside her. She whispered softly, I know he means well. I just wish he didn't have to be a king all the time. The wind rustled through the willow leaves as Sophia sat quietly, holding on to her father's promise, hoping he would return soon. The once cheerful picnic under the willow tree had grown quiet. The golden sunlight shimmered on the lake, and the wind carried the faint hum of castle bells, marking the passing hours. Sophia sat cross-legged on the blanket, carefully twirling a daisy between her fingers. Clover nibbled nearby, his long ears flicking every so often toward the castle gates. How long's it been now? Clover asked, his mouth full of muffin crumbs. Sophia sighed, glancing toward the distant castle towers. Well, maybe an hour? Dad said he'd be right back. Clover tilted his head. I told you, kiddo, kings don't do right back. When a royal meeting starts, time vanishes faster than a carrot in my paws. Sofia forced a small smile, but her heart ached. She had been so excited for this day, her day with her dad. But now the lemonade was warm, the sandwiches were gone cold, and the laughter she had imagined was just a quiet echo in her head. She picked up a pebble and tossed it gently into the lake. I know he's busy, Clover. It's just sometimes I wish he was just Dad and not the king. Clover hopped closer, looking up at her sympathetically. I get it, but he's got a big OL kingdom to run, remember? That's a lot of people counting on him. Sofia nodded slowly. I know, and I'm proud of him, but sometimes I just miss him. As the afternoon light shifted, Sofia decided to wait a little longer. She arranged the leftover food neatly, and even set aside a muffin she knew her father liked, the one with blueberry glaze. But as time passed, clouds began to gather. The warm sunlight dimmed, replaced by a cool breeze that rippled across the water. Clover shivered slightly. Maybe we should head back before it rains. Sofia hesitated, glancing at the castle again. Just a few more minutes. He'll come. I know he will. Back at the castle, inside the grand hall, King Roland was still surrounded by ambassadors. Maps and scrolls covered the long table, and the sound of voices echoed across the marble walls. The king listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration. But every so often, his gaze drifted toward the tall windows overlooking the gardens. In his mind, he could see Sofia sitting by the lake, smiling and waiting. His heart tugged painfully. When the ambassador finished speaking, Roland raised a hand. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience, but I must adjourn this meeting for now. There's someone far more important I need to attend to. Without waiting for a reply, he stood and hurried down the hall. Meanwhile, back at the picnic site, Sofia finally began to pack up. Her eyes stung a little as she folded the blanket. She knew her father didn't mean to disappoint her, but it still hurt. Clover hopped beside her. Hey, don't look so down. Maybe you and the king can do something special tomorrow. Sofia nodded faintly. Yeah, maybe. Just as she stood to leave, the soft sound of hoofbeats echoed across the bridge. She turned, and there was King Roland, riding quickly toward her, his cloak fluttering behind him. Sofia, he called. Her heart lifted immediately. Dad! He dismounted and rushed to her side, slightly breathless. Oh, Sofia, I'm so sorry. The meeting went on longer than I expected. I should have come sooner. Sofia smiled gently, though her eyes glistened. It's okay. I know you had to. Roland looked at the half-packed picnic and the untouched muffin she'd saved for him. The sight tugged at him deeply. You waited all this time for me? Sofia nodded softly. I didn't want you to miss it. Roland knelt beside her, taking her hands. I'm so proud of you, Sofia. You have such a kind heart, more patient and understanding than I deserve sometimes. He pulled her into a hug, and Sofia felt her sadness melt away in that warm, fatherly embrace. But as thunder rumbled faintly in the distance, Roland stood and smiled. Tell you what, let's make this up properly. Tomorrow, no meetings, no papers. Just you and me, a real adventure. Sofia's face brightened. Promise? Roland placed a hand over his heart. Promise, my little princess. As they walked back toward the castle together, Sofia leaned against his arm. Maybe today hadn't gone as planned, but deep down, she knew her dad's love was always there, even when duty tried to come first. And tomorrow, she thought tomorrow would be their day. Morning sunlight spilled across the castle halls, turning the marble floors into rivers of gold. The promise of a new day, their day, filled Sofia's heart with excitement. She could already hear the birds singing from the garden and smell the sweet rolls baking in the kitchen. Clover hopped onto her bed, his whiskers twitching. So, what's the plan for today, kiddo? Another picnic or something more adventurous? Sofia grinned, brushing her hair. Dad said it would be an adventure. Maybe a carriage ride to the enchanted forest, or a trip to the village. She tied her amulet gently around her neck and hummed a happy tune as she made her way down the grand staircase. The castle was peaceful, except for the occasional chatter of servants preparing for the king's outing. Everything felt perfect, until it didn't. Halfway down the corridor, Sofia heard voices, worried, rushed voices. Bailiwick hurried past her, carrying a long velvet case. "Bailiwick," she called. He turned quickly, startled. "Oh, Princess Sofia. Good morning." Or, well, it was a good morning until he stopped himself, straightened his jacket, and tried to smile. "Until what?" Sofia asked, frowning slightly. Bailiwick sighed. "The royal crown, your highness. It's missing." Sofia blinked. "Missing? How can the royal crown go missing?" "That," he said gravely, "is precisely what we're trying to find out. The king just discovered it was gone from the throne room this morning." Her heart sank. "Oh no, is Dad okay?" "He's understandably upset," Bailiwick admitted, glancing toward a hall that led to the throne room. "He's called for an immediate search of the castle." Without another word, Sofia hurried down the corridor. When she reached the throne room, she found King Roland pacing near the dais, Cedric beside him waving his wand around suspiciously. Guards were checking every corner, and even Queen Miranda looked concerned. "Dad," Sofia called. Roland turned, his expression softening immediately when he saw her. "Sofia, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. It looks like our adventure will have to wait. The royal crown has disappeared." Sofia approached him carefully. "How could that happen?" Cedric crossed his arms dramatically. "If you ask me, there's something magical at play. I sense traces of enchantment around the display case, faint, but they're—" Roland rubbed his temples. "Cedric, I appreciate your help, but right now, I need calm heads and sharp eyes, not finger-pointing and panic." Sofia looked around the room, thoughtfully. "Maybe I can help too." Her father hesitated. "Sofia, this is serious. The royal crown is a symbol of Enchancia's unity. We can't risk." "But you always say I'm good at noticing things others don't," she said gently. "Please, Dad, let me try." He smiled faintly, that same proud, tender smile she loved. "All right, my clever princess. You can help, but stay safe." Sofia nodded and began her search. She examined the pedestal where the crown usually rested. There were no signs of forced entry, but she did notice something strange. A faint trail of sparkly dust leading out the door. "Dad," she called. "Look." Roland leaned over. "Fairy dust." Cedric frowned. No, this isn't fairy dust. It's glimmer residue from a levitation spell." Sofia gasped softly. "So someone used magic to lift away?" Roland's expression darkened slightly. "Then we'll need to find out who in the castle could cast such a spell." Cedric looked offended. "You don't mean me, do you? I've been in my workshop all morning, and besides, I'd never steal something as shiny as— important as that." Sofia bit back a smile. "Maybe it wasn't stolen on purpose. What if it was an accident? A spell gone wrong?" Roland glanced at her thoughtfully. "You may be right, Sofia. We should start by finding anyone who's been using magic near the throne room recently." Sofia thought for a moment. "What about the new apprentice? Tilly from the Royal Prep Magic class. She's been practicing charm spells." Roland's eyebrows lifted. "Excellent idea. Let's pay her a visit." As they made their way toward the apprentice chambers, Sofia noticed her father's usual tension replaced by a quiet determination. Despite the seriousness of the situation, they were working together as a team. Clover's voice echoed faintly from behind her. "So much for your peaceful adventure, huh?" Sofia smiled softly. Maybe the adventure found us instead. And as she followed her father to the castle halls, she couldn't help but feel a spark of pride. Even in a moment of royal crisis, she wasn't just Sofia the princess. She was Sofia, the daughter helping her dad, the king. The castle halls were unusually quiet as Sofia and King Roland made their way toward the royal prep apprentice chambers. The morning's cheerful buzz had faded into whispers of concern. Word about the missing crown had already spread, and everyone they passed bowed nervously or pretended to busy themselves with dusting and polishing. Sofia walked beside her father, her amulet glimmering softly with every step. She kept sneaking glances at him. The proud, confident king who usually looked calm no matter what happened. But now, his jaw was set tight, his brow furrowed. "Dad," she said softly, "you're worried, aren't you?" Roland sighed. "I suppose I am. This crown isn't just gold and jewels, Sofia. It represents Enchancia, our promise to protect and guide our people. If word spreads that it's missing—" He trailed off, and Sofia gently reached for his hand. "Then we'll just find it before that happens." Together, that simple word, together, seemed to ease him. He smiled slightly. "You remind me so much of your mother when you say things like that." They reached the end of the hall where Tilly, the new magic apprentice, was practicing. Her tiny wand flickered in her hand, producing little bursts of pink light that danced like fireflies. When she saw the king and Sofia, her eyes went wide. "Why, your majesty?" "Princess Sofia," she stammered, quickly hiding her wand behind her back. "I was just, rehearsing my light charm." Sofia smiled kindly. "It's all right, Tilly. We just need to ask you something." Roland nodded. "Were you practicing spells near the throne room this morning?" Tilly's cheeks flushed pink. Oh, I might have walked by there earlier. I was trying a floating charm for my assignment, and my wand sort of hiccuped." Cedric, who had followed behind them, raised an eyebrow. "Hiccuped? Magic does not hiccup, young apprentice." Tilly gulped. "Well, it does when you accidentally mix in a sparkle dust enhancer. I swear I didn't mean to. I just wanted my spell to look extra shiny." Sofia's eyes widened. "Tilly, did your spell float anything away by accident?" Tilly blinked. "I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I was practicing near the hall, and something sparkly floated past the doorway right after my spell went off. But I thought that was just part of it." Roland and Sofia exchanged looks. "Part of it?" Roland repeated, his tone calm but firm. "Do you remember where it floated to?" Tilly fidgeted. Toward the west balcony, I think. But I swear, I didn't mean for anything to happen. I was going to check, but then my wand fizzed, and, well, I panicked." Cedric sighed dramatically. Typical. Young magic users and their reckless sparkle enhancers. Roland exhaled slowly, placing a reassuring hand on Tilly's shoulder. "It's all right, Tilly. Accidents happen. What matters now is fixing it." Sofia smiled gently at the nervous girl. "Don't worry. We'll find the crown. Maybe your spell can help us." Tilly blinked. "Help? My spell?" "Yes," Sofia said brightly. "If you retrace what you did, maybe we can follow the same trail. My amulet reacts to magic. It might glow when we're close." Roland nodded approvingly. "That's a clever idea, Sofia." A little color returned to Tilly's face as she raised her wand and took a deep breath. "Okay, here goes nothing." She repeated the spell, slower this time. A shimmer of pink light floated forward, then curved toward the corridor. Sofia's amulet flickered with a faint violet glow. "It's working," Sofia gasped. They followed the trail through winding hallways, up a spiral staircase, and out onto the west balcony. There, perched on the railing, glittering in the morning light, was the royal crown. Tilly's jaw dropped. I really did it. Oh, I'm so sorry, Your Majesty." Roland laughed softly. A deep, kind laugh Sofia hadn't heard all morning. "Well, I'd say this was quite the magical adventure after all." Tilly's eyes brimmed with tears. "Please don't expel me from the academy." Roland shook his head with a gentle smile. "Of course not. You made a mistake, but you also helped fix it. That's what matters." Sofia stepped closer to her dad, her heart swelling with pride. "See, Dad? Sometimes listening, really listening, helps more than anything." He looked at her thoughtfully. "You're right, Sofia. I was so focused on a problem that I nearly forgot to listen. You helped me remember that being a good king isn't just about giving orders. It's about hearing others." Sofia smiled up at him, just like being a good dad. Roland chuckled softly, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Exactly." As the morning sun rose higher, the two stood side by side, the crown safely returned. Not just a royal symbol, but a shining reminder that patience, kindness, and listening could fix even the trickiest of problems. The morning after the crown was found, the castle was filled with warmth and cheer once again. The royal banners fluttered in the crisp breeze, and laughter echoed from the courtyard, where Bailiwick directed servants preparing for a long-overdue event, the royal family picnic. Sofia skipped into the grand hall, her amulet glinting in the sunlight streaming through the tall stained-glass windows. She had barely slept the night before, too excited by the thought that today, finally, her father's promise would come true. King Roland stood by the marble staircase, dressed not in his heavy royal robes, but in a soft tunic and boots, the kind he wore on relaxed family days. When he saw Sofia, his face broke into a smile that reached his eyes. "Well, good morning, my little adventurer," he greeted. "Are you ready for our royal picnic?" Sofia grinned wide. "I've been ready since yesterday." He chuckled softly. "Then we shouldn't keep your mother and Amber waiting, should we?" Just then, Queen Miranda and Princess Amber entered, both looking radiant. Amber carried a basket decorated with ribbons and lace, insisting that picnics should be fashionable too. Clover the rabbit hopped behind Sofia, wearing a tiny flower crown he was clearly not thrilled about. As they made their way out to the royal gardens, the air was filled with the sweet scent of lilac and rose. The trees shimmered with sunlight, and the distant sound of the fountain added a gentle melody to the morning. Sofia couldn't help smiling up at her dad. "I'm glad you kept your promise, Dad." Roland's expression softened. "I'm glad I could, and I'm even gladder that you reminded me what matters most." They spread the picnic blanket under a large willow tree near the pond. The servants had prepared an incredible spread: golden pastries, berry tarts, honey-drizzled scones, and a tall jug of sparkling lemonade. Sofia helped set everything up, humming a little tune as she worked. Amber, adjusting her sun hat, sighed dramatically. "Well, I must admit, this is rather pleasant. I can see why you like picnics so much, Sofia." Sofia giggled. "See? Nature can be fun." Even Bailiwick stopped by briefly to check on everything, though Roland insisted. "No work today? Bailiwick, go take a rest yourself." Bailiwick's mustache twitched, but he smiled. "As you wish, Your Majesty." The family settled down together. Clover and Robin the bird darted toward a nearby bush to share crumbs, while Crackle, Amber's baby dragon, napped peacefully beside the picnic cloth. For a while, they simply enjoyed being together, laughing, telling stories, and watching clouds drift lazily across the sky. But beneath the joy, Roland felt a small tug in his heart. He turned to Sofia, who was weaving little daisy chains with her tiny hands. "Sofia," he said gently, "do you know why this picnic means so much to me?" Sofia tilted her head. "Because it's fun?" He smiled. "That too. But it's also because I get to spend time with you. I've been a king for many years, but I'm still learning how to be a good father, and you've taught me more about that than any royal advisor ever could." Sofia's eyes shimmered. Really, he said with a nod. "You remind me that being a good ruler starts with being a good listener and a good dad." Sofia's face lit up. "And you're both." Roland chuckled softly. "Well, I try my best." Queen Miranda smiled at the two of them, her heart full. Amber pretended to look uninterested, but couldn't hide her smile either. The sight of her father laughing so freely with Sofia made her realize that family meant more than jewels or gowns. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet, Sofia rested her head on her father's arm. "Can we do this every week?" she asked sleepily. Roland chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Every week might be tricky, but I promise we'll make more time like this. No distractions, no duties, just us." Sofia smiled dreamily. "A royal promise?" He leaned down and kissed her forehead. The most royal promise of all. The willow leaves rustled above them, as if whispering approval. For the first time in weeks, King Roland felt no weight of the crown, no burden of duty, only the quiet, perfect peace of being exactly where he was meant to be, beside his family. And as the stars began to twinkle above, Sofia knew that no treasure, no crown, no magic in the world could ever shine brighter than the love of the dad who kept his promise. The next morning, the royal palace was calm and glowing in the soft gold of sunrise. Birds fluttered across the courtyard fountains, and the scent of morning dew drifted through the open windows of the throne room. King Roland sat at his desk, quietly reading through a parchment scroll, but this time he wasn't rushing. He was waiting. A soft knock came at the door. "Come in," he said, already smiling. Sofia peeked inside, her amulet sparkling like a tiny rainbow. "Good morning, Dad. Am I too early?" Roland laughed. "Too early for you? Never. I was hoping you'd stop by before breakfast." Sofia hurried over, holding something behind her back. "I made something for you." "Oh," Roland asked, pretending to be puzzled. "Is it another of your secret inventions?" She giggled and shook her head. "No, it's a drawing. Look." She pulled out a parchment decorated with crayon colors and little sparkles of glue. It showed a smiling King Roland and Sofia sitting under a tree with food baskets, their royal picnic from the day before. Above them, Sofia had written in big, cheerful letters, "My dad, the king, and my king, the dad." For a moment, Roland didn't speak. He looked down at the drawing, his eyes softening as warmth filled his chest. "Sofia, this is beautiful." She beamed. "Do you like it?" He stood up, knelt to her level, and looked her in the eyes. "I love it, and I love that you see me as both your king and your dad." Sofia's voice turned gentle. "You always will be." They stayed like that for a moment, smiling, before Roland gently picked her up and sat her on the edge of his desk. "You know," he said, "when I was younger, I thought being a king meant making decisions, giving orders, and keeping peace in the kingdom. But after becoming your father, I realized something." Sofia tilted her head. "What's that?" Roland smiled thoughtfully. "A true king doesn't just rule. He listens, he learns, and he loves. And you helped me remember all three." Sofia's heart swelled with pride. "And a true princess doesn't just wear a crown. She helps others, even her dad." Roland chuckled softly. "That she does." Just then, Queen Miranda appeared in the doorway, her expression warm. "You two are quite the pair this morning." Roland smiled up at her. "We were just talking about what makes a good ruler and a good parent." Miranda walked closer, resting a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You've always been both, Roland, but it's lovely to see you remember that your family is your greatest treasure." Sofia nodded earnestly. "More valuable than gold." Amber entered the room behind their mother, holding a bouquet of garden flowers. "Or even more valuable than my tiara collection," she teased and added, "almost." They all laughed, the sound echoing to the bright hall. As breakfast began, Bailiwick entered to announce the day's royal schedule: meetings, petitions, council discussions. Roland listened carefully, then raised his hand gently. "Bailiwick," he said with a smile, "let's move the first meeting an hour later today." Bailiwick blinked. "Your Majesty, are you certain? That will push the schedule quite." "I'm certain," Roland interrupted kindly. "My daughter and I have a morning walk plan, and I intend to keep it." Sofia's eyes lit up. "Really?" He nodded, smiling proudly. "A king's duty never ends, but neither does a father's love. So yes, really." Bailiwick smiled faintly, bowing. "Very well, Your Majesty. I'll see to it." As the royal family enjoyed breakfast together, laughter mixing with the scent of honeyed bread and berry jam, Sofia couldn't help feeling that everything was just as it should be. Later, when they walked through the palace gardens hand in hand, Roland looked down at Sofia and said softly, "You know, I may wear the crown, but you, my dear, rule my heart." Sofia giggled, squeezing his hand. "Then we both have kingdoms, don't we?" He laughed warmly. "Indeed we do." They paused near the fountain, where the reflection of the morning sun danced on the water. Sofia looked at her father, not just a ruler of Enchancia, but the man who had taught her the greatest lesson of all, that love makes a family royal. And as the castle bells chimed in the distance, Sofia whispered, "I love you, Dad." Roland smiled, his eyes shining. "I love you too, my little princess." Together, they stood in the garden, not as king and subject, but as father and daughter, bound by a love more powerful than any magic in the land. For in the end, a true king's heart wasn't made of gold. It was made of love. Purple heart.